Today I will be talking about the history of Christmas. So, you probably, mostly when you think of Christmas, it relates a lot to Jesus Christ and the birth of Christ. But I wanted to know how far it went back. So I learned a few things, many things. So first of all, there's Yule. Yule was a Nordic holiday that started in 5 BC. There are a few traditions to go along with Yule, but the whole point of Yule was that on the darkest days of the year, for a week, starting on the winter solstice, you would bring life and light. The traditions that they would do to show this is they would get the biggest evergreen tree that they could find, and they would bring it back to their village, and they'd get the biggest log they would find and bring that too. They'd light that log on fire, and that became the Yule log. And the biggest and evergreens were the only tree that still lived in a Nordic winter. So that's another thing that they brought. During that same time, there's still more. So they had a gift giver. We have Santa Claus, other people have many different others, but they had one called Odin. Odin was one of their main gods in the Norse religion. And he would fly around on an 8-legged horse called Sleipnir and give gifts to children. It might remind you of someone. All right. At the same time that Yule was happening, the Romans had their very own holiday called Saturnalia at pretty much the same time. Saturnalia was more of a carnival than it was to celebrate a certain thing. It was to celebrate pretty much the end of the year, and they would party for a week pretty much. So there were different carnivals. An example of one of the carnivals is the Carnival for the Children, which is to acknowledge what the children have done throughout the year, and they're growing for the next year. One thing that they would do is the poor people of the Romans would go to the richest people in their area, and they would demand for alcohol and food. And if they didn't give them that alcohol and food, they'd trash the place. And so, yeah. And that was one of the things that they did. People in England also did that. It was called wassailing or something. Wassailing, where they do pretty much the same thing. And both of these holidays happened at the same time, and since they both lasted for a while, and yesterday was the winter solstice, technically we are in Yule right now, or Saturnalia. Now, let's talk about what Christmas is mostly put together with now, Jesus Christ. So, Jesus was pretty much a perfect fit for these holidays, because it brings life and light, so it's kind of a perfect fit with Yule. Now, many historians don't think that Jesus was born on December 25th. They think that he was born more in around springtime. But early Christians didn't really believe in birthday celebrations. They did death celebrations, but they didn't do celebrating the birthday. So they didn't exactly know when he was born, because there's no celebrations for that were happening. But Constantine the Great, a Roman emperor, held the Council of Nicaea in 425 AD to decide the date of Jesus' birth. Coincidentally, 2 things happened. First of all, he shares the same birthday as their sun god Apollo, and his birthday was also during Saturnalia. Constantine is who made Christianity really big, because Romans were really big. Were a really big kingdom, and when he decided to change to Christianity, a lot of other people did too. Now let's talk about Santa Claus. So Saint Nicholas, or Santa Claus as we know today, was a real person who was on the Council of Nicaea that we just talked about. So in ancient Greece, there lived a saint that there was a story of a saint that lived in Turkey, and a real person, and this person was St. Nicholas, he would give presents to poor children, and he'd help out everybody that he could. Now, he's also the patron saint of children, and in Northern Europe, when Northern Europe transitioned to Christianity in the Dark Ages, St. Nicholas Day was celebrated on December 6th. Kids would leave their shoes out for Sinterklaas to fill them up with treasures, with treats and gifts. And Santa Claus became who he was today. He was also really tied with Odin, as we just heard earlier. And yeah. Okay, so the expansion of Christmas. Right now, Christmas is, I would say, one of the biggest holidays that we know. But it wasn't always that way. Not many people liked it. It did grow through Europe really quickly and was like a carnival, like Saturnalia. But there was one problem. The Christian church did not like it that much. And since the church was one of the biggest forces, it wasn't rolling pretty good. They actually outlawed it, and that was pretty bad and started a lot of protests. One thing they would do in protests is they'd take soccer balls and they'd protest with that due to how soccer was also banned at the time. Yeah. And then when King Charles was reinstated, Christmas was celebrated again. Another thing that they would do is they would keep their kids inside because they thought that they were going to get kidnapped, which is really weird, I think. But I mean, yeah. So America, how did Christmas go to America? So immigrants from Ireland, England, Scandinavia, and Germany brought all their own Christmas traditions when they came here. One of the reasons that they had to come here was because there was a potato famine, so they needed a place to go. So Christmas trees that we know today, they came from Germany. It all started with Yule, where they get the evergreen, but then the Germans started to decorate the trees, and we have the Christmas tree. And from England and Ireland, we have Christmas cards and carols, a way to celebrate with your friends and family about Christmas. And Scandinavia brought Santa Claus. Okay, all of these made America really big on Christmas, and now we have Hallmark movies, Black Friday, mainstream Christmas songs, White Elephant, and Secret Santa. And White Elephant and Secret Santa are both big present holidays, traditions. So let's talk about presents. So, Santa Claus, by far, is our biggest present giver, right? Goes around giving kids presents. But it's not everyone that it's Santa Claus. It could be baby Jesus or even Papa Noel. And a big thing about presents is the price point. So Americans actually spend about $500 a year on presents. We Europeans spend about $200 a year. So I guess we're doing it better. Okay, so postmen. So the idea of a postman on Christmas is that they would get the letter from Santa and they give it to him. Now, it became really popular to give them a letter after 1823, after The Night Before Christmas was written. If y'all know the poem, "'Twas the night before Christmas when all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse." That one. And what they would do for a lot of kids is they would take the letter and give it to a very rich man, and they would get the presents for the kids, and it was really good. And hundreds of thousands of letters are actually sent to Santa every year, which is nice. Christmas wasn't really great, as you heard. Well, Christmas is great, but it wasn't very, how do I say this? It wasn't very big a long time ago, but then got bigger and bigger. And Christmas is a really great holiday, and Yeah, it's been a very long time, since 2,000 years, and I think we're all very excited for it, and that's what I got together for my little speech. Thanks.